Last week, we spent a lot of time on the unexamined life, and we got into a discussion around how important it is to examine our lives in addition to, some of those pitfalls that cause us to avoid that examination process. For this week, after seeing and hearing some of your feedback, I think it is very clear. First, let me say, thank you so much for providing that feedback. It was very, very helpful. And one of the major themes I got from it was that you all really want to spend some more time on this dreams topic. Because from what I can tell, there's a lot of dreams out there, and people are having some trouble with unpacking those dreams and knowing whether they are worth following and pursuing, which is fine. I love that. And like I told you in the last episode, this podcast, I want to keep it very fluid. So if the people need more in a particular area, that's where we're going to go. So for this episode, I thought it would be most appropriate to really get deeper into the practical side of this whole dreams discussion. Last week, it was a lot more conceptual from a conceptual framework. And there were some, tidbits there at the end that were practical. But I think for this week, I want to really go practical and give you more of a step-by-step approach to analyzing your dreams and really being able to unpack whether they are worth pursuing. Now, in order to do that, I thought, why not, instead of using, Joshua's voice, why not bring in a voice with a lot more experience and a lot more success in this area? And so while the budget for this podcast does not allow for us to have this guest in person, we can still pick this person's brain by analyzing their work. So, for those of you who do not know this name, allow me to introduce you to a man by the name of John Maxwell. Mr. Maxwell himself will be joining us today via his book, which is one of my favorites, and it's called Putting Your Dream to the Test. This is part one of a two-part series that I hope you enjoy. Putting your dream to the test is an actual test, like it's called the dream test. And it's something that John shares in his book, which just takes you through a series of questions followed by true or false statements that you are to answer in order to determine if a dream meets the standard of substance and is worth pursuing with your life, your energy, and your purpose. So I want to jump into the same thing, and I think it'd be helpful, or for our sake of time here, we're only going to go through the questions followed by one of the true or false statements. Now, if you want to go through all of the true or false statements, again, I highly encourage you to get the book for yourself and walk through all of them. But for the sake of our time here, in order to not keep you on for too long, I want to go through just all of the questions and one of the true or false statements. All right. And tell me in the comments, is this something that's helpful, or is it something that you felt like was not helpful? I don't know, but I'll wait for your feedback. So in the meantime, let's jump into this, starting with question number one, numero uno. The first question is the ownership question. This one states, is my dream really my dream? Is my dream really my dream? The ownership question. Here's the true or false statement. I would be the person most pleased if I accomplish my dream. That question's an important question. Why? Because many of us have pursued dreams that don't belong to us. I told you about a lot of my dreams in the previous episode that I admitted had no substance. And for a lot of us, whether, let's say you are, a doctor, lawyer, and you've accomplished that great accomplishment. However, that's not your dream. Your dream was to, be a teacher. Your dream was to be a firefighter. I don't know. I'm just throwing out these different occupations. But the point is, it catches up with us, I should say, when we pursue dreams that don't belong to us. Because the fire eventually will quell and not burn as passionately when we're pursuing something that we never really cared about in the first place. So, first question, is Is this dream your dream? It's a great question to ask when trying to determine whether a dream is worth pursuing. And that true or false statement, is that true for you? Would you be the person in the world most pleased if that dream were accomplished? I know for my dreams, that's a yes. It's true for me. Let's move on to the second question. The second question is the clarity question. Do I clearly see my dream? And here's the true or false statement for this question. I have written a clear description of my dream that includes its main features or objectives. Now, before you get stressed out, because I know I would, and anytime somebody says, well, now you got to take that dream and add a description to it. For a lot of us, maybe some of you, not you detail-oriented people, maybe not, but I'm not the detail-oriented guy. So for me, that's a little bit of a stress. It's like the 5-year plan question. I kind of hate those. But they're important. They're important questions. And I've developed in that area of being able to take the forest, for lack of a better term, and really break it down to the trees. And I want to help you do the same. So here's what I'll tell you. If you're trying to break down your dream and answer the clarity question, I would encourage you not to beat yourself up if the first time you sit down to identify or write out a description that nothing really generates. Do not beat yourself up. That's okay. This is your life we're talking about. This is your dream we're talking about if you pass the ownership question. So here's the good thing about that. You don't have to define it all in one sitting. But what I would encourage you to do is commit to the consistent approach to define it. Spend some time. Spend maybe a week with a few minutes a day, 15 to 30 minutes a day, just sitting down trying to define it a little bit more, a little bit at a time, bite size. Turn it from this big mountain that you're trying to describe into little small pebbles that you're just picking up on the daily to describe. Okay. I hope that helps. That helps me when I feel overwhelmed by something that I have to break down into detail. That's hard for me to really, what's the word I'm looking for, to articulate in the form of a description. All right. So hopefully that helps. Take it, make it bite size. All right. Next question. As we continue our dream test during this episode, I hope you're getting something out of this. The next question is the reality question. Am I depending on factors within my control to achieve my dream? Okay. And here's the true or false question to consider. I know what my greatest talents are, and my dream relies heavily on those talents. I know what my greatest talents are, and my dream relies heavily on those. Is that true or false for you? Are you dependent on factors within your control to achieve your dream? And I want to break that down for you a little bit because I am a firm believer. Those who have ever worked with me or who know me personally, they would tell you that I am a big proponent for working within your strengths. Working within your strengths, I think that simplifies life, and I think that is the fast track towards fulfillment. Now, we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about the discovery phase, because some of us don't even know what our strengths are. Some of us don't even know what our talents are, and I'll give you plenty of resources and things you can do to help uncover those. But for today's time, I just want you to answer that question. Is that true or false? Do you know what your greatest talents are? And does your dream rely heavily on those talents? Or does your dream rely heavily on something else? Like, does your dream of being a millionaire rely heavily on winning the lotto? If so, unless you are, someone that can guess what the numbers will be, and you've been given that special talent by God, then go right ahead. But if that dream does not rely on such a talent that I just made up, then you probably should reconsider that dream. All right. That's tongue in cheek, but you get my point. Use that same process, apply that same process to whatever your dream is. Moving on. Number 4. This is the passion question. Does my dream compel me to follow it? That's strong. Does my dream compel me to follow it? So here's the question, or the true or false question I want you to consider here. It says, I can think of nothing I would rather do more than to see my dream fulfilled. Is that true or false for you? I can think of nothing else I would rather do than see my dream fulfilled. Is that true or false? For me, I can tell you that ever since I was probably a teenager, all I could think about was helping people in the form of communication, whether that be, like I told you in the last episode, songwriting, whether it be speaking, whether it be, I don't know, telling a joke, doing something to make people laugh. But it was all in the context of serving people, impacting people. And that's all I could think about, day and night. What is that thing for you that's all you can think about? Is it taking care of animals? Is it taking care of people? Nursing or being, in some kind of health profession? Is it inventing things that can help serve people? I don't know. I'm just throwing thoughts out, ideas out. But that's a true or false question I want you to consider underneath the context of the passion question. Does your dream compel you to follow it? It's a beautiful thing when you hear a calling in your mind and in your spirit every day that says, hey, come after this, chase after this. That's a dream worth following. Moving on. Number 5, we're halfway through, y'all. Number 5, the pathway question. Do I have a strategy to reach my dream? Do I have a strategy to reach my dream? Here's the true or false question. I have a written plan for how I intend to accomplish my dream. Is that true or false? I have a written plan for how I intend to accomplish my dream. Now, this probably reminds you of question number 3. Question number 3 was asking for a brief description of your dream. And this is in the same light, kind of doing the same thing. And I will give you the same encouragement. This true or false statement says, I have written a plan for how I intend. The intent is what matters here. And it gives you an opportunity to dream within your dream. Like, hey, if I could bring this to life, how would I do it? And so there's no pressure on what's right or what's wrong. It's getting the starting point. And if you read the book, you'll see that the next true or false question in there revolves around sharing your plan with 3 people that you respect, 3 people that have maybe accomplished what you want to accomplish. That's when you can get into really getting some substance to your plan. But for now, for the starter, just get down the intent. What do you intend to do? What's the intent behind your dream? And what would that look like if you were to put it together as a plan? And do not stress that out. Don't get overwhelmed. Bite size. Take it one step at a time and start with just trying to get a framework around what the plan could look like. All right? So that's question number 5. Let's move on to question number 6. I want to make sure we get all these in. Question number 6 is, have I included the people I need to realize my dream? Have I included the people I need in order to realize my dream? And here's the true or false question to consider. I have surrounded myself with people who inspire me and who are honest with me and my strengths and my weaknesses. I'll say that again. I have surrounded myself with people who inspire me and who are honest with me about my strengths and weaknesses. Is that true or false in your life? And this is huge because this kind of serves, I tell people all the time, failure is our biggest tour guide. But alongside that tour guide, if you have a mentor, it makes it a lot more of not softer, but it makes it, you talk about a grain of salt, doing that with a grain of salt, it makes it a lot easier to swallow our failure when we have a mentor or people around us who are honest with us, and who inspire us to keep going. So this question essentially is asking, who's your circle? Who's your circle? And I use that analogy. Let me back up for a second. The whole grain of salt, to help get it down, that's a reference actually to an old practice or method. In order to get things down, to swallow things that were hard to ingest, they put like a grain of salt in it, which made it easier. And so that's what our circle does. Our circle takes constructive feedback. And I emphasize the word constructive. They take things that we need to hear. And our circle is the grain of salt that helps us to be able to ingest that feedback and to apply it so that we can get better. And so is that true or false in your life? Do you have a circle that really cares about you enough to say, hey, that right there, I want to be honest with you. That's not connected to who you are. It's not connected to your purpose. You're better than that. Or your talent is more curtailed for this. Or someone that inspires you. Hey, don't give up on that dream. Hey, you have this in you. Don't believe what the lies over there in that corner are saying. That the circle can work for both of those areas. So again, is that true or false for your life? I won't harp on that one too much, but that one's a favorite of mine. What's your circle like? Question number 7. This is the cost question. The cost question. Listen to this. Am I willing to pay the price for my dream? Are you willing to pay the price for your dream? And the true or false question to consider here is, I have already considered what I am willing to trade to achieve my dream. I've already considered what I am willing to trade in order to achieve my dream. Why is this a true or false question? Because, ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters, every dream is accompanied by a series or a particular sacrifice. So for you, for some of us, or for many of us, that trade will be time. I'm willing to trade the time I'd be spending doing something else, pursuing my dream. For others, that trade may be, I don't know, it might be for a short period of time. You may have to trade in doing something that you don't really like or isn't really your dream, but it will help you get to your dream. And sometimes that comes in the form of an occupation, a job that you have to do. I can think about some of the jobs I've done over my life, jobs I started at that were not things I wanted to do, but they helped me to get to where I wanted to be. So there's a true or false question to consider. Have you already thought about what you're willing to trade in order to achieve your dream? All right, that was number 7. Let's jump through these last 3. 8 is the tenacity question. Am I moving closer to my dream? I love that song. It's one of my favorites. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. But yes, back to the question. Am I moving closer to my dream? Meaning, I love this true or false question. I do something every day, even if it's very small, to move closer to my dream. We've been talking all this episode about small, bite-sized actions. And I think this really seconds and reaffirms how important that is. Are you doing something every day that moves you closer to your dream? Because that truly determines whether this dream is something you feel worth pursuing. And it doesn't say that you have to do something large or some big investment sent on a daily. On a daily, what are you doing? That could manifest itself in so many different ways. I can ask that question by asking, what are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to? Who are you listening to? What are you looking at? How are you developing your strengths? Like we can ask that question in so many different forms in order to equate how you are moving closer to your dream every single day. Because it's like two forms. There's moving closer to it every day, and then there's furthering that dream every day once you kind of get to it and it starts to come to life. So again, is that true or false for you in your life? That I do something every day, even if it's very small, to move closer to my dream. Question number 9. This is the fulfillment question. Does working towards my dream bring satisfaction? Does working towards my dream bring satisfaction? Here's a true or false question to consider. I enjoy the pursuit of my dream so much that even if I fail, I will consider my life to have been well spent. We can drop the freaking mic on that one because that's a hard one. True or false? You enjoy this dream so much that even if you failed, you would consider your life being well spent. You know, I never accomplished that thing, but darn it, I went after it, so my life was well spent. I got so much fulfillment just going after it that I think that was a life well spent. Can you say that about your dream? What does that look like in real life? Well, you listening to this darn podcast, I had to decide, if nobody picked up and listened to this podcast, is it still worth doing? If it never reached millions of listeners, or it never was downloaded in the top echelon of podcasts, would it still be worth the time of preparation, of putting in time to bring content that I feel is valuable? And the answer for me is yes. Now translate that to your life. Whatever that monotonous activity or approach that would need to be repeated on the daily or on the weekly to move closer to your dream, and you may not even see any return on that investment of your time, is it still worth doing? If the answer is yes, then you got yourself a dream worth following. And that leads us to the last question, which is where we ended our episode, the last episode. And the last question is the significance question. Does my dream benefit others? The significance question. Does my dream benefit others? If you're wondering why I'm laughing, it's because this is the question that sparked in me the passion to pursue what I do. When I realized that I really want to do this because of how much it impacts other people, not how much it'll benefit me, but how much it can serve others. Is that true for you in your life? Why is it that you do what you do? And instead of me asking you a question, let's get to the true or false question so we can stay true to our activity today. Here's a true or false question for this particular question. I can name specific people other than myself who will benefit if my dream is realized. I can name specific people other than myself who will benefit if my dream is realized. Is that true or false for your life? For me, one of the specific people I can name, if many of my dreams are realized, is my family, my wife, my son. But also beyond that, my dreams involve my friends, my circle, my community, my church. Who are those people for you? Who are those people that if your dream is realized, that they will benefit? They will be able to eat off of your tree, the fruit from your tree. All of these questions are questions that will help you really gain and identify and assess if your dreams have substance that are well worth your time, energy, and life purpose. I hope you got something out of this episode. I hope that this helps you further put some practical approaches to how you can truly define and examine these dreams. And I'm really excited to hear some feedback on what you all got from this episode. So please make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications so you can get each episode, because I'm really trying to do this in a way where you can, when we get to the end, we really feel like we've gotten a lot out of this season. And so please make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment. Let me know what you're getting out of this. And as I always tell you, and will continue to tell you every week until you are tired of me, listen, success is your destiny. See y'all later.